Welcome, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order, and I will ask the warden to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so welcome to the March 2025 meeting of the Prison Board. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes of the February meeting that were circulated in advance of today. And if so, I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading and adopt and approve the minutes as stated.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay.
Excuse me.
It's all right.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Nobody wants to sit next to me. I just got my second shingle shot last week, too. So, I mean,
I'll
I'm
sit next to you,
okay.
Judge.
It's all right. It's all right.
Sit next to you.
Okay. Anybody from the public wish to address the board on agenda items only? Joan?
So before I do the agenda items, raise your hand if you brought your cell phone in. Oh, shame on you all. Did you see the sign out front? I had to give mine up at the front desk, and I hope it's there when I leave. With regard to, yeah, you're not leaving if I don't get it back.
I'll make sure you get that.
With regard to the warden's report, did you see the numbers on the overtime? Did you see how drastically they've fallen?
Yes.
How many years did it take you to get this done? Well, good work. This is great. This is absolutely great, okay? And then I also looked at the population report. You're losing people. A year ago, the in-house population was 734. This month, it's 686. I know what you're doing, but keep it up. Now, I did have a question on your larger summary, where you give the staffing update. You have no full-time vacancies. You have 182 full-time officers required. What I don't really understand is on the FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, you have 0 on continuous FMLA and 95 are intermittent. Can you translate that 95 into its operational impact? Is that 95 people? Is that 95 hours? Exactly what it is, because if it were 95 people, that's more than half of your staff. So if when you give your report, if you please explain that for people like me who don't know what the hell you're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. They'll be finished with your installing the tracking device on your phone, and then you'll get it back on the way out. Okay. Bev?
Bev DeBarro. That's it for the.
You can just bend it, yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, the county didn't
Bev
pay for that. He
DeBarros.
bought it himself, so.
I think these are agenda items, too. One is about the GED program. Today you're going to talk about that. And also the new commissary provider. So can I talk about those two things? I didn't get an agenda with that written on it, but
Yeah, it's not.
I think those are
but
agenda
is it
items.
part of your report, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah, okay. This is from Denise Brown, who's out of town, out of state, but she sent this.
Yeah, I'll note, I got it
Yeah,
last
you
night,
got it.
too. I mean,
Yeah,
she
you're
sent
the
it
only
last
one.
night at 5
Yeah.
o'clock, so.
Yeah, I think she was waiting for the warden's report before she, anyway.
I don't know if we're going to be able to get into full detail on that because it's
Yeah.
not a whole lot of time given to turn around on it, but we'll do our best to
Yeah.
address it.
Okay, she writes, the proposed cost for the GED program is $200,117.33. And justification for the higher than expected cost is one-time expenses such as computer equipment and potential overtime to start the program. And the commissary account funds were used to pay for the $155,000 program in 2018. There was an $11,000 startup fee at that time. Does the prison not still have the computers that were purchased then? One would think many GED subjects preloaded on the inmate tablets there should be less cost associated with the program. I do not understand why a proposal would include anticipated overtime to get the program up and running, considering Outreach is the same provider as in 2018. Can someone offer clarification on why the proposed project is going to cost so much? And the other item is about commissary. The agenda states that the Keefe Group, LLC, will be voted on to be the new commissary provider. While reading the RFP, Denise noted that it contains language that states the awarded vendor shall offer the county a commission of net sales. Many times over past years, advocacy members have addressed the board regarding the possibility of lowering or doing away with commissions. This is the opportunity to do so. Per the current RFP, the county receives 38% commission. Based on sales of $1,134,187 in 2024, the county received $430,991 in commissions last year. Imagine what the family and friends of those incarcerated could do with that money. A quick search of the Keefe Group, LLC, shows that they were awarded a contract in 2022 with New York Rikers Prison. They have been accused of high prices, upwards of 65% higher than local store prices, incomplete deliveries, and faulty credit issues. The warden's report indicates their proposal was similar to that of Oasis. What were the deciding factors for awarding the contract to the Keefe Group, LLC? Thank you.
GED program? Are you going to address that in your?
Yeah, if you want, when I get up there and do my report,
Okay.
I can address that letter from Deals.
Okay, all right, okay. All right, anybody else on agenda items? Okay, not seeing anybody, we'll move on the agenda. First item is a motion to approve all the current payables for the Community Corrections Center and the prison. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review that as it was circulated prior to coming here today. And if so, I'll entertain a motion to approve those payables. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That doesn't count as an opposed. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next is the Controller's report. Controller DeVillio?
Yes, Judge Gibbons. President Judge Gibbons, I should say. Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Controller's report of the prison inmate and canteen account. If I better pull this over.
There you go.
For February of 2025, the Controller's Office reviewed the prison inmate and canteen account reconciliations, which were prepared by the Prison Business Office for the month of January 2025, and found no discrepancies between the reconciliations and the bank statement. The balance in the inmate account was $468,672.05 as of February 28th of 2025. The balance in the canteen checking account was $531,695.06 as of February 28th. In addition, as of February 28th, the canteen account also included a balance in the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust investment accounts of $947,813.27, earning approximately $3,455 per month, and which will mature in July of 2025. Those investment accounts are settled now until July. During the month of February, $80,188.81 was paid from the canteen account for the benefit, welfare, and education of county inmates. And an itemized list of those expenses are attached to my report. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. DeBillio?
When's the expiration of that Pliget fund?
What was that?
When does the Pliget fund? expire?
July.
July what?
Yes, let's see.
We don't have to do it now, just to
Yep.
make sure it's on the agenda of the prior meeting.
We
so
have,
we're gonna
we
to
have
renew it.
2 accounts, and one will be July 11th, and the other will be July 24th. July 11th and July 24th.
So you'll be looking at them for reinvestment at that time?
Prior
We
to,
put it on the
yes.
June agenda for the
Yes.
bonds?
Yeah, I mean, one will be on the June agenda, the other one,
On the
they
July.
usually straddle our meeting dates, so.
Yes, that's right.
Any other questions for the controller? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve his report.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Judge,
Thank you.
On one other note, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just as an update, I made notes for myself here. As an update on a matter we previously discussed, I'd like to inform the board that the county has received a payment from the Department of Justice U.S. Marshal Service in the amount of $550,423.77. This was owed to the county since November of '23 and was detected as outstanding by our controller's office in July of '24. This payment was for housing of federal inmates at our Lacakawanna County Prison for the month of November of 2023, but was sent to another county in error who never notified us. I'd like to acknowledge my Deputy Controller, Reginald Mariani, for his effort in digging deep to find the shortfall and working to rectify the matter. The $550,423.77 includes interest of $25,429.77 and is now in our county general fund. Procedures have been implemented to identify any U.S. Marshal Service shortfalls in the future should they ever happen again. Just wanted to make that note.
That's great. Thank you, Gary. And thank you, Reggie. Too bad you're not working on a commission. Yeah,
It would have been a good one.
I'm glad we got it before Elon Musk did, so we're good to go. All right. Now we'll hear from the warden.
Good afternoon, Board. The average daily population for February was 686 inmates, 535 were county inmates. We averaged 610 adult males, 2 juvenile males, and 76 adult females. And the average daily population of U.S. Marshal detainees was 151. Our overtime and out-of-county boarding reports are attached. Staffing update, currently our correctional officers' numbers break down to 176 full-timers on shift, 4 out on workers' comp. We have 0 on continuous FMLA. And to answer Joan's question, the 95 intermittent FMLA are 95 individuals, not instances. And yes, that is over half of our officers have intermittent FMLA of one sort or another.
How does that impact your operations?
It's difficult to say because of the intermittent nature of each individual medical issue. If they flare up, an individual uses it. If they don't flare up, obviously they're not using it. They have that ability to utilize intermittent FMLA. I hate to say the word intermittent again, but intermittently. So it's really difficult practically impossible to track just how it affects it, other than we know when it's being used a lot, and we see that in our overtime.
And does that track with other prisons, other county prisons?
I believe so, yes. Other institutions, when I've talked to their administrative staff, they have a significantly high number of individuals with intermittent FMLA for various reasons. But next line down was the administrative leave. We have 2 officers on administrative leave and 0 full-time vacancies, second month in a row. So that's good, for a total of 182 full-time officers. Our budget as of February 28th, revenue was at 10%, expenses were at 17%. Extraordinary occurrence reports, there were 2 in the month of February. On February 6th, a male reported to staff that he was having suicidal thoughts. This individual's attitude and conduct then began to quickly decompensate, and a decision was made to place him in the emergency restraint chair for the safety of everyone involved. On 2/16, staff received a call that a combative individual was en route to the prison. Upon arrival, the new commit showed signs of severe anxiety regarding his arrest and incarceration. He was not combative, but he was not being rational, and he was unable to follow orders. He then began to express suicidal thoughts and started asking staff to kill him. Staff decided to place him in the emergency restraint chair due to the level of irrationality that he was displaying. PREA, there were 3 PREA investigations completed in the month of February. 1 was an inmate on inmate sexual harassment claim, 1 was an inmate on inmate sexual contact claim, and 1 was a staff on inmate sexual harassment claim. All 3 investigations were deemed unfounded and have all been forwarded to the DA's office for further action if deemed appropriate. GED program services, we received 1 proposal from the advertised GED RFP, and it was from Outreach. Their proposal has been found to cover all of the qualifications outlined in the RFP, and it is my recommendation that Outreach is approved to be the GED provider for the prison. Their proposed budget totals $200,117.33, which is somewhat higher than what we had initially reported that it may cost for the year. The reasons for the increased amount are: 1, some of these expenses will be one-time expenses such as computer equipment, and 2, Outreach may need to incur some overtime in the initial year due to extra hours needed to get the GED program up and running. Commissary, RFP responses, evaluations, and recommendations. Bless you. We received 2 proposals to the recently advertised commissary RFP. 1, our current provider, Oasis Management System, submitted a proposal, as did another national company, Keefe Group LLC. Both companies made acceptable submissions, and after evaluating the submissions, the review committee is requesting approval to enter into contract negotiations with the Keefe Group. If approved and upon completion of negotiations, the contract will be presented to the Board of Commissioners for final approval. And the review committee consisted of myself, Deputy Warden Colleen Orzel, Deputy Chief of Staff Tracy Hart, and Director of Purchasing Joe Weschler. And then to speak briefly on the email that you were sent, Your Honor, from Denise Brown, a couple comments there. Without reading the whole thing, one of the questions, she's asking for clarification why the GED proposal was costing a bit more. Folks are here from Outreach, and they could probably speak to it better than I can. My understanding is that, for lack of a better term, there's new leadership from 7 years ago at Outreach, and that I don't think that there's anyone that was part and parcel of the previous times putting in and getting a full-fledged GED program up and running. So there's going to be a learning curve there, I suppose. That may explain why they properly budgeted some overtime in there just in case, because there's always those unseen things, you know, the unknown unknowns, as they say. I think the combination of 2 things there, it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. It's going to be a little more difficult. Regarding the computers, I don't believe we have the computers. It was 7-8 years ago when we last had it. In computer age, I think that's considered dinosaur territory when you start talking about computer systems that are 7, 8 years old. Things are constantly being upgraded and updated, and I'm sure that there's been upgrades and updates. And it's more than just the GED program that we have. It's not a program. What's on the tablets is GED preparation materials on the inmate tablets right now. We're talking about an actual program where there are educators that are going to be coming in here, holding class, assigning homework, going over that homework, preparing them for the test, giving them practice tests, et cetera, as well as getting the prison again listed as a certified site for testing, the test site. The next thing that was asked in this was about the commissary recommendation. Keefe is at a 33% commission, their submission. It would be to share 33% commission with the county, which is lower than what Oasis is given right now. And in their submission, they said that they would be holding the costs at what they are now and will be doing so for the next 2 years, which kind of builds into explaining what were the deciding factors in Keefe over Oasis. We have the lower commission rate. We have a better new admission kit being offered, a better indigent kit being offered for the inmate population that are indigent, and also their promise to be keeping the current prices for 2 years. I'm not going to talk about Rikers Island or anything like that because that doesn't really bear on us. It's in our RFP that they will be comparable to local businesses' prices. I looked through them. I didn't go through it line by line what the price offerings are, but I can tell you this much is if I'm an inmate here and I'm looking to buy a Snickers bar, I'm going to spend less than I am at the corner convenience store, but more than I'm gonna if I go to a local supermarket. So what we always looked for was to get it somewhere in that range, in between supermarket and convenience store. We like to do that. We do compare that. That is in the RFP that they will submit that periodically to us, kind of a price comparison, just to show they're not gouging in that manner. And finally, on that whole subject, a commission rate, and I know Denise mentioned it in here, talking about the possibility of eliminating it. The money doesn't benefit Lacakawanna County. It does benefit, it goes into that canteen account, and that canteen account is healthy. It's very healthy. It's over $1 million when you count the Pliget plus the current account itself. We are starting to utilize that. We're going to be utilizing that to pay for GED services, which is great, and we can look at other things. Currently, every person who's incarcerated here has the opportunity to get a haircut free of charge. That's something a lot of other facilities don't do. You have to pay for your own haircut, whether it's a nominal fee or something, but that's how part of what comes out of our canteen account is paying for inmate haircuts. And as the board is probably aware, I'm sure you are aware, we do have a policy and procedure in place for recurring expenses. Those recurring expenses all come out of that canteen account. So it is important to keep money flowing into the canteen account so that we can pay for the things that are listed here. And on occasion, I would come in front of the board asking special permission to use canteen account funds for whatever the purpose may be at that time, and it's either approved or not approved. But
We also use those funds for indigent inmates who can't buy things at the canteen.
Yeah.
Don't have family or friends that put money on their account for them.
yes, absolutely. I mean, I can read off the list. I literally have it right here of what's acceptable. I won't do that unless you ask me to, but language line services for interpreters, for instance. The newspaper, that was another mention. Somebody mentioned it. Maybe it was in Denise's. We do still get the newspaper. It is paid for. There was a problem that we just discovered on Monday where the Scranton Times billing, they were sending it, I believe, to the wrong place. We've corrected that. So I don't know if they got paid. We're going to find out real soon if they got paid. And if they didn't, we will pay them because the money going for newspapers comes out of the canteen account. So a lot of things come out of that. It is important. Of course, it's up to the the board and the commissioners to decide final things in contract negotiations with whatever company we move forward with regarding commission rates. If you want to lower it, lower it. If you want to raise it, you can raise it. I wouldn't advise raising it, but right now, what's offered by Keith is 5% lower than what we're now getting paid, if you will, from Oasis. Currently, it's a 38% commission rate. Keith is coming in to maintain those prices at today's prices for the next 2 years. They're saying 33%. I think that's fair. But again, the county can decide to try to negotiate that during contract negotiations. And I don't know that there's anything else here that was asked on Denise's letter. Oh, okay, there was some mention about, there was a couple ERC placements, ERC being the emergency restraint chair. Our medical department, whenever an event happens, is always contacted. Sometimes we have to act in the moment, but one thing is guaranteed is once a person is in the emergency restraint chair, they are checked by our medical provider to make sure that those the securings are not too tight, for instance. When we have the opportunity, we contact them in advance because oftentimes we're more concerned about, are we going to have to utilize OC spray? Are we going to have to utilize an EBIT, an electronic body immobilization device? We want to always check off with our medical provider and make sure there's not an underlying medical condition that you can have an adverse reaction to it. So I would say 95 to 99% of the time are touching base with our medical provider before an action is taken, and 100% of the time we're touching base with them after a person's placed in the ERC. Let me see if there was anything else here. The very last thing was she had mentioned about the pre-report and a suggestion in the past that we create a spreadsheet. We did not do that. We didn't do that, not that we don't care about the issue, but frankly, we have one individual here who's tasked with doing the PREA investigations, and she's very cognizant of if there was, I think the concern, that unspoken concern is if we had an individual working here that had multiple allegations made against him or her, would it hit our radar? And it would. We have one person, she does a great job, she does the investigations, she reports to me, and then when that's all done, she types up a report and sends it to the DA's office so that they can look at it, whether it's founded, unfounded, or unsubstantiated. They all get forwarded to the DA's office. Between the three different entities, if you will, we're going to notice if, Tim Betty's constantly being accused of this, that, and the other, and of course that's going to put it on our radar, and of course we would take a good long look at that. So no, we didn't develop a spreadsheet because we don't really see the need for a spreadsheet to spend the time to do that, to track something that is, I don't want to say common sense, but something that's going to jump right off the page at you. I have that all the time when we're reviewing grievances. If we're constantly getting grievances citing a particular staff members, yeah, we're going to pull that staff member aside. We're going to have a talk with that staff member. We're going to see if there's anything to it. And we're even going to ask that question, why is it always you? And we will take a good long look at that. We have not had that with PREA allegations. A lot of PREA allegations oftentimes are related to an individual almost misusing the PREA system. But we investigate them fully, and we report that to the DA's office as well. So with that, unless there's anything else, that concludes my report.
Any questions for the warden? Well, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve his report.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Warden, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody from the public want to address the board? Joan?
Remember I gave you homework?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
And this is an oral exam.
Yeah, right. I don't know how many people have had the time to even look at it, but PFM completed and published their final report on their 5-year financial management plan. And one of the things they looked at was the prison, which is one of the most expensive cost centers that the county has. So I'll just look at some of the highlights of what they said, and I'll be asking for your opinion on certain things. The prison staff account for about 20% of the county's full-time employees. That is a large number. And most of it's overtime expenditures. Hopefully that number of overtime will be coming down, as I think the warden's made a great start in that direction. PFM looked at the 2025 budget, which called for a $1.1 million decrease in overtime for the prison. And I think they're well on their way. They may even exceed that goal. The decrease is going to require some specific actions. And basically, they took a hard look at the staffing plan at the prison, and they looked at employee data for a 1-month period. And they had several conclusions. The prison does not have enough officers to meet the demands determined by its current staffing plan. They calculated that the prison has 114 unique posts, requiring 187.5 full-time officers, not the 182 that the warden referred to in his report. So that's a 5.5 shortage. Okay, and then that only gets aggravated by any vacancies that might come up, like when you have, people retire and you haven't hired to fill the gap. I don't know how FMLA plays into that, leave and other issues. So they made, and then it also doesn't account for medical transport staffing requirements. So basically you're trying to do the job with not enough people. So they basically recommended that the prison on a regular basis update its staffing plan so that it accommodates its actual needs. And they said that should, let me go back. If the county identifies the staff to fill all identified posts, overtime spending will be lower than other personnel costs. If you hire more people, more staff, you're going to incur legacy costs, salaries, health care, pensions, and so on and so forth. And you have to balance that against the savings, which is largely comes out in your overtime requirements. So, you're going to have to balance the two. But remember, financing and funding is one thing, and it's very important, but your priority has got to be the safety of the prison, its employees, and the county community. So you're going to have to work that. And that's not, when I say the warden, I really mean commissioners, okay, because he works for you, okay? To provide adequate staffing at an affordable cost, you have to look at 4 variables. The number of posts required for the prison. And they say that you can probably reduce the number of posts. If you could do that, you might save as much as $1.1 million a year. That's a lot of money. The number of full-time and part-time officers available to fill this post, that's where your staffing plan comes into play. You have to have the people available to fill the posts. The amount of leave, scheduled and unscheduled, and the frequency and length of additional duties. That's like medical transport. They strongly recommend recruiting and deploying part-time correctional officers. That'll help reduce overtime. And managing prison population growth. And I noticed that in the warden's report this month, there was a reduction from, 734 to 686 or something like that. That needs to be done on a regular basis. To achieve a $1 million savings per year, the county has to reduce its prison population enough to close 1 wing. Now, I don't know whether this was done before or after. Didn't you have to dedicate one wing to male juveniles? Okay, and is that still in effect?
Nope.
So you've gotten rid of the males?
We got our population low enough that we put them in a segregated section.
Okay. What about females?
We have 88 or 83 today.
Juvenile females?
None.
None. Okay, but if you got them, where would you put them?
That would be very complicated. We don't have a dedicated spot. We'd have to.
Okay. According to PFM, Lacakawanna County has the second highest county prison incarceration rate out of the 11 third-class counties. That's a lot. So they've been pushing alternatives to incarceration. And I won't go into that very much. I know that President Judge Gibbons, you're responsible now for overseeing the court system. So they had a lot of recommendations which would impinge on the court system and might affect.
A lot of those specialty courts that they mentioned have been in existence here already. So, in fact, our county is generally thought to be one of the leaders in alternatives to incarceration with the advent of the specialty court system. Started out with drug court, and now I think there's upwards of about a dozen. Judge Perez oversees the mental health courts, DUI courts, veterans courts. So they oversee a significant population of people that, in a lot of other instances, in the absence of those courts, would be here. So that's been in existence for quite some time. So I think it works very well.
Well, my parting comments is I assume that you county commissioners and the board and then the leadership has looked at PFM's findings, and are you comfortable with their recommendations, and are they realistic and achievable, if not in the short term and in the long term? And are there other things that you believe they ignored or got wrong, or things that you saw that they did not?
Well, everything is different, and I think, they're casting a wide net. I'm not going to be critical of them, but at the same time, I'm not sure what experience they have in running a district attorney's office. They had a whole bunch of suggestions about that, including giving raises to, or the sheriff's office, or a jail. So, I don't mean to use the term in a pejorative sense, but there are a lot of bean counters involved. And so you can't just count beans. You have to see.
Well, that's why I said you have to balance
Right.
the priority of the safety of everyone involved against the funding requirements. You've got to find that sweet spot.
Yeah. And I think certainly it's not something that can be cast aside either. I mean, they did have some very good recommendations, and so, I went through it, and, not only from the vantage point for the prison, but also for the courts and the justice system overall. So, some of their recommendations are practical and good, and others not so much, but we'll engage in a balancing to, because overall, we're all talking about the same thing. We're all talking about a safe community here in Lackawanna County. And what's the best way to do that? So, but thank you. Anybody else from the public? Bev, again.
Well, this is my stuff. I thought I saw Mark Powell here. No.
He's not here anymore.
Yeah, I would just, my first thing I wanted to say was how I appreciated his work here. I didn't think I'd have a chance to tell him in person, but.
Well, he's on the third floor of the courthouse. You can go visit him. He'll be
All right, I will. Anyway, he was always really insightful with questions, and he was good. Also, I'm hoping that you'll, after this meeting, take a little brief walk through the prison And especially, you know me, benches down there where the cement yards are, to see if we could get, again, I'll say, plastic, recycled plastic benches. Dunmore has them up there in front of the Nancy K. Holmes Library. There's a wonderful example. Never needs, maintenance, no painting or anything. And I just really, really think the commissary could, I know we can afford it, to get benches for the rec area there. Also, the last thing, I guess, is that when I spoke last month and the month before, I was concerned about us not having the law library up and running there. Now, okay, so if you go to see the yards downstairs, when you go to the elevator, you'll pass the law library room, which was there on your left. And you might see some laptops in there, and that is only for inmates whose lawyers give them maybe a thumb drive that they have to read, so they can go there and plug it in and read it. But it's no law library in there. So I thought I needed, after not getting a response here, I thought I would go to the County Bar Association, but first I went to the Pro Bono Association on Penn Avenue there. They've always been helpful to me. And they sympathized, but said they suggested I go to the PILP, if anybody wants to look it up, Pennsylvania Institutional Law Program. And so I wrote to them about our circumstances, and I hope that we get some. First, I want to find out, is it a law that they're supposed to have access to work on their cases, to understand their cases, to have a suggestion for their lawyer from books that I read? That is an important part of a normal jail. So that's that. If I get any more on that next month, actually, I hope you're telling me something next month on that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bev.
Good afternoon. Frankie Malakara, Scranton. Patiently waiting the report about the solitary policy. Do we have any timeline on when that would be publicly available?
There's a draft that was provided to me. I told Liz about it in an email last night. I have not been able to get finished with it. And I'm going to circulate it to the members of the board, and then it will be made available.
Okay, so hopefully by next prison board meeting, it's sounding like?
I'm telling you that when we all get through it, it'll be
Okay.
made publicly available.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
In light of Warden Betty's report today on the emergency restraint chair, I find it quite concerning that we're using it on folks that are admittingly nonviolent and aren't causing a threat. In light of this, I would like to, in the spirit of similar to the solitary policy, if there is a policy on the use of the ERC, and if that could possibly be reviewed as well. The warden mentioned that 95% of the time was his number. There is a medical person on staff. I know we've been having issues with WellPath as far as mental health services at the prison. In my opinion, it seemed like this was a case to have one of those mental health service providers come in and speak with the person in distress, as opposed to performing some sort of like shock therapy on their incarceration. When they first come in, they're going through an anxiety attack, rather than immediately strapping them into a chair. I think by having those mental health services provided at that time would have been a wonderful use of those resources. So I would like to ask if we can also have a review on the emergency restraint chair policy. Thank you.
How you doing? I'm Kevin Herrick. I run the AA program in the county jail here. Just want to say congratulations and congratulations to the president judge. We have some pretty good numbers that come to the AA program here. I'm looking to expand it a little bit to bring, I have a female that's going to start coming in. I know we had a little bit of a hiccup, which me and Colleen are going to sit down and discuss like a policies of, I have a lot of inmates, not only that I develop information from, not that I do develop information because I want to. They come to me because they know I'm a state constable. I mean, I deal with probably 150 inmates a week. I get a lot of people that come to my classes. So we're going to come up with some kind of protocol on what should be done with that, because at the point I was told to stop, because I just don't want to bring any information out of the jail that I'm not supposed to, although it goes to appropriate people. I just want to thank you guys for letting us have the AA program, and I got to say, when we come in here, when I personally come in here, I get treated with the utmost respect, and that's not because I'm a state constable. That's because I come in here, and the numbers that I get and the people that are actually participating in this program is incredible. I mean, I'm getting 50 guys a class. I'm here Wednesdays, Thursdays. Now I see I got to start coming on Sundays. And you want to know what? When they get out of here, I get a lot of phone calls for help. And, thank God I'm in a position to where I know where we could send them. I know, who to send them to. And, I just think it's an awesome thing that you let us come in here and do the AA program. And like I said, I need to expand it. We need to sit down and talk about the protocol. I know we had a hiccup with my guy coming in and doing something. What he did, I don't know. It's not my business. But I don't want that ever happening again. I don't want it to affect the program that I started here in this jail 3 years ago, something like that. And I don't know. I just want to say thank you for letting us be here.
Well, we appreciate you coming in because it provides a benefit to us here at the jail, not only directly to the inmates, but also to the staff and the administration too. So, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Liz. I just have a quick question for the warden, actually, about the reduction in population. Could you speak to what the driving factors are behind that?
You got me. In all honesty, you got me at this point. It fluctuates. There's ups and downs, ebbs and flows. I mean, we're constantly, like the judge had mentioned, there are multiple treatment courts, but I don't know the underlying factor for sure. I can't put my finger right on it.
Yeah, I'd just be curious to know if it's like maybe a reduction in the cost of bail, if it's like programming like AA. A lot of people are in here for drug and alcohol problems. And so maybe the board could consider some way to track, what is effective means in reducing recidivism, because that I would hope would be the goal, is to prevent individuals from being incarcerated. So maybe that could be a consideration to track some numbers and some programming, what people are coming in for, if bail was set or if it wasn't, and what the driving factors are to reduce the population.
Well, virtually everybody that appears in front of a judicial officer has bail imposed on them. Some it's unsecured, some it's ROR,
Yeah.
some it's a monetary bail.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people, Vera Institute did a study a few years back about the high incarceration rate at Lacakawanna, and one of the major driving factors of that was the high cost of bail that's set in Lacakawanna. And so essentially, if you break it down, people are being incarcerated for being poor. And so, somebody with more means is able to post that bail and leave the prison, where somebody that it's not within their means isn't able to post that bail, and then they sit in the jail. And so just curious, what if it does ebb and flow, what are the driving factors between that? I mean, I know in COVID it went down significantly. There's no research on it, but I would imagine it's because people were receiving a lot of money and resources from the government. And so you don't maybe have to like break community rules or laws to obtain resources that were readily available at that time. But again, I didn't, conduct the research. It's my best assumption.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anybody else?
Judge, I'd like to revisit Bev's point regarding the law library for her benefit and everybody's. I know that question came up a couple months ago, and we had requested Deputy Warden Orzell to give us a summary of the resources and what was going on with the law library. And I believe she came into a meeting and gave a pretty thorough recitation. I don't know if Bev was here or not. Bev, so you know that, with the tablets, we found that at this point in time, the prisoners are provided substantially greater legal resources for research and preparing their defense than they ever had or could have had with the physical law library. The only shortcoming, I think, was a matter of word processing with typing, but in terms of the materials available for research and review, it was pretty impressive and surely, well beyond the requirements of what we have to provide, which is great. It's a matter of technology, but I don't know if you'd missed that or not, but we did discuss that a little bit if you had been waiting for an answer.
And like they can't print out their research, maybe copy machines and forms and stuff like that.
But they don't have word processors, which, when they existed were very limited when they were working. No, I mean, they can handwrite, they can provide their attorneys if it was absolutely essential. Obviously, they can get the case citations and go through whatever steps would make that available. They just basically don't have a full-service printing center, but they have the legal means that they need to help prepare their cases.
Good afternoon. I'm Lori Chaffers, the President and CEO of Outreach Center for Community Resources, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to provide the services we provide now in the prison, which is about 9 classes per week. And hopefully in this proposal, we'll be providing the GED services for 13 classes per week, 12 classes per week with an additional 3 classes for tutoring and testing. So I wanted to make 3 comments. One is that in addition to some of the overtime that will be needed to get the program back up and running, it has been over 5 years since we've been in the prison. To meet the requirements for testing that were outlined in the RFP, we felt that we did need to scale up staffing a bit to make sure that the individuals that we are serving here are able to test and meet that rate, even with that increased staffing. It takes about, on average, this is a national average, about 240 hours for an individual of subject-specific tutoring for an individual to pass their GED. With the turnover rate at the local prison, it will still be hard, very difficult to reach that 70% pass rate. And so it is our anticipation that as folks make our way through our program, if they're unable to test in the prison and are not ready, that they will be able to come to the center, Outreach's 7th Avenue Center, and complete that testing there. So we're hoping to be able to count those averages as well. But that some of that increased staffing in the budget is to reach those required levels of proficiency. The other comment I wanted to make is about $33,000 of this budget is in a reimbursable line, and that is for things like computers and the carts. And there are very, very strict rules about how the computers can be used. They can only be used for GED, and that's both within the prison walls and also as the requirements of the GED of the testing centers themselves. And so that's some of that cost that will be a one-time cost that you may see again in a few years if we have to update things, but will be a one-time cost. And then finally, on the law library issue, I wanted to say that we did hear this come up at the last meeting. We always try to have someone present for those meetings, and one of our instructors was present, and he is actively pursuing and working with our new program director, Nikki Price, doing some curriculum in our classes about how to utilize the tablets more effectively so that they can draw down that information, because there is a wealth of information on the tablets that now exist with the library that has been instituted. And so hearing that need come forward, we thought, well, it's only as good as if you know how to use it. And so we thought we would develop some curriculum. And so hopefully over the next few months, we'll put into our rotation how to actually utilize the library access that they have on the tablets. And so we did want to be responsive to that need, and we felt it was important to provide that opportunity. So just wanted to offer clarification. Yes?
I have a question. Is part of your proposal to make the prison a test site? Or-
Yes,
right.
yes,
And
we are-
How
so-
long does that, what is that?
So as the warden indicated, we are a little new at this too. We had done it before. I would anticipate we will be fully up and running both in the amount of classes and the ability to test within the next 3 months, or at least 3 months from when the contract is officially signed and I can begin to hire people. So if that takes another, however long that takes to get it signed and work through. So I think it'll take us at least that long to get all of the ducks in the road, to get people cleared to be in the prison, to get the computers purchased, to get the rooms set up, and then to get Pearson to identify us and certify us as a testing center.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Great, thank you.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Okay. Any members have any other business? Yes, we did have an executive session. Thank you for reminding me that. We did have an executive session to interview candidates for the warden's position. What was the date of that? Do you remember?
Thursday or Friday?
It was last week. And they were, I think it was on Thursday. And so the vote did not make it to the agenda, today's agenda, and that's on me. I didn't make sure that it was on the agenda, so we can't vote on that today. So the question is whether we have a special session or whether we postpone the vote until April. So, and we will decide that. The interviews are complete, and, at the appointed time, we'll make our vote, and that'll be that. Okay? Anything else? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second? Question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. See you next month.